All right.
Yeah, so rather than wait for the recording, I just did this from memory. So this is the kind of vanilla stuff of
Yep.
CRMs.
Yep.
This is more specific about services.
Yep.
Noting that these are changeable. There's constraints. Interested to see what a definition of a service is, but I can probably come up with just a version of what seems reasonable.
Yep.
You're talking about buckets. Quite like to know about a bit more of that. And Intel, this is dynamic, so questions being asked of the data structure as opposed to actions being carried out. And I've got a bunch of actions there.
Okay.
Seem reasonable. Let me
Yep.
read through that.
Yep. Did you have questions that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, the big question is, what's the best silver bullet through? Well, number one, I've captured this roughly right, but what's the best silver bullet for me to write today and get something, the next call? So,
shit. That is a good question. I'll answer a couple of your questions that are easy first. Fuck. Oh dear. So I'll just show you what I'm doing. It's a little more entertaining than just watching a blank screen.
You're on build 524.
Mate, I've been busy. Okay, and turns out that a lot of the stuff I built is just getting binned. But so what?
That's always the way. It's always the way.
So what? Okay. So long as we get there is all I care about. And it really does feel like coming up to crunch time. I really sincerely hoped that I would have the platform up and running this month, but I have slipped on that.
Well, this is
oh fuck me.
I went over index on that one. Because in the meantime, I've been botting away and throwing away huge amounts of stuff. Getting closer every iteration.
Botting. Now, why?
So your hold music. Okay, right. Here's the. This is the vector map, right, of routes and stuff. Or is that not meant to be shown? Here we go.
This is an example of a bucket. I was hoping to give you more, as I always am.
Is there, importantly,
Here we go. We got it. We are live. Okay.
Okay.
A bucket.
They don't look much like buckets, but okay.
Dude.
We'll scrub around that.
Dude, not helping. Okay, so a bucket is an area that holds locations.
Right. Okay. Right. So, question number one. So I'm going to ask questions as go along. That's all right. In terms of NL, is a bucket essentially a JSON of postcodes?
No. A bucket is an arbitrarily user-defined polygon made up of these boundaries.
Right, but you could reduce that to postcodes, right? or streets
No,
or some
what you
other?
could reduce it to is customers. So a customer has a location attribute,
Mm-hmm.
and those locations are arranged in buckets. That they What these polygons are sort of irrelevant to the LLM. You just need to
Mm-hmm.
know that given this customer, it is in this bucket
Okay, so there's a mapping of customers'
to
location
buckets.
to a bucket number.
Yep.
Say,
Or a
right,
bucket name, because these are the names of the buckets.
right, and presumably that also extends if there's a new customer um, with this address, we can map that into a bucket. So you're
Correct.
now in this bucket.
If you give me any address, I will put it into the correct bucket or tell you does not fit. Does
Got
not
it.
fit is like these people,
Yep.
no bucket, the null bucket,
Yeah. Yeah. They're beyond the bucket,
beyond the bucket. But anyone
beyond the
else,
pale.
I can tell
Beyond the
you
pale.
that they are in this bucket. And
Okay.
then, um, given about 1 day's delay, I can tell you what order they are in the bucket.
Okay. And that is an ordered list. Again, of just addresses. This, then that, then that, then
Yeah,
that,
and this is
and
a
then
way,
A.
this is how the ordering gets done. You can
Got
drag
it.
and drop the order around. From the LLM's point of view, it doesn't need to know how that's being ordered, but it
And this
needs
is
to know
the
when the order has been changed.
right. And we're, if I get it right, they've got an interesting algo that deals with weights. For example, distances would be one weight between these in order
The
to
ability to calculate is not at all of concern to us.
grant. Okay, so we're just given here's your ordered list,
Yep.
and
Here's your
that's
ordered
done
list. Yep.
in a separate database. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm assuming there's going to be an isolate that the uh, the bots can talk to in terms of getting this. Are the orders included in these buckets, or where are the
Yeah.
orders?
Well, the orders are included in these buckets, and so the orders. I would imagine that the orders are stored in part of the in a folder. Like if I was to store them in Git, it would be like the routing folder, and then it would be routing slash bucket one, which that'd be the bucket names, and then inside of that folder would be or a file, actually probably is a better way to do it. Inside that file is the order of customer IDs.
Yeah, okay, and that can map back.
Yeah, and the
Database.
ID
Okay.
maps to the customer file.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine that I would make one file per bucket here,
Yep.
and then I would store them as JSON, because
Yep.
what seems to be the best way to go is that if we have a format, like if each bucket has a format, that these guys call them sectors, so I'll start using their language here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Each sector, if we make a JSON schema that represents the template for it, we can, if the bot tries to write something that doesn't match the schema, then we can throw the error back to the bot and the bot will fix it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's a way that an NL bot can be forced to make a valid JSON object, is by letting the bot interpret and write the schema, checking the schema that it is valid schema, and then checking the schema against any of the files that the bot would write.
Yeah. That's a well trodden path. We're all right with that one actually.
Yeah.
Even just getting it to consider again by a single bot, and helpfully with an error, it usually gets it right.
Right.
Okay. And so I'm assuming there's going to be an isolate where I can make calls like there is a new customer. tell me the bucket, and there's new demand, and then it goes off to somewhere else to
Right.
figure
Yeah.
out where
Right.
that
So
goes to.
there is definitely an isolate that does that. Uh, when it's being entered, one of those isolates will actually go and make a geocoding call. So you will enter the approximate address, and then geocode results will come back. And then I
Mhm.
expect the LLM to interpret those geocode results and be like, did you mean think?
Did you mean what? Do you
Did
mean
you
think?
mean? And then one of the results that the LLM thought was most likely what the person meant.
No, I didn't get that. Go through that again. Sorry.
So when you do geocoding, you get
Mhm.
back a number of a series of addresses that look similar. So if I was to go here and I would say, let's not give away my exact location, shall we? Yeah. Oh god. And then you got to zoom
I'm usually
way
one that just
out,
leaks information everywhere.
way out. And then I think I'm in Syria today. Okay, so if I type in our coordinates, see how I get multiple options here?
Yep.
The geocoding service, as the user types, or
Mm-hmm.
when the user has typed any address, will provide a number of options.
Mm-hmm.
I expect the LLM to interpret that because I don't want to. Like, this component here that Google has made must have been a goddamn nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Look at
right,
how many killers.
right, and then you
There are.
get this
Yeah.
shit like it's like the Al Qaderi restaurant, and it's like, are these the same or not? Did I even want a restaurant? Did I want a special address? Like, and the LLM should, I imagine, be able to take a dump of these like sort of results, and then given the context of the CRM, be able to say, I think it was this one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things that I would expect the CRM to do.
Right. So there's an isolate. Is this the service to go to? So we can put in what's in the URI there. That's looks like a lot long.
Yeah, that's just Google Maps. That's all that was.
Yeah. Okay. So there's an isolate there. They can put an address. Let them work out.
But
You don't
they
get to
wouldn't
put
be typing it.
yeah.
They would be inside of Howl, just being like, hey Howl, my
I,
address is
yeah.
15 Bottomley Potts Road, and
Right.
then like
And it would, because it would know the context of the buckets.
the LLM would be the LLM prompt would be like, everyone should be calling from Hamilton, New Zealand. I
Yeah.
need a street address. Ignore businesses. Blah 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 blah. And then I make a call out to the API that gives back all these results, and then the LLM should look at those results and say, it's this one, and then it should write that address in, and then the user can correct it using further chat. But that's how I would expect the behavior to go.
Okay. All right. Right. So there's, I mean, these guys have done a lot on this. What we can do is triage the the NL from the customer saying, "Hey, I'm at Bottomley Potts Road." Then it can go. The isolate can go off and check with Google saying, "Give me Bottomley Potts Road," and it would know that, hey, that's not in Hamilton, man. So
That's right.
you're not getting it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So that's nicely. All right, cool. Okay.
And so what that does is it saves me doing a bunch of clicky work and making a UI and somehow integrating that into the flow for the user, and it just keeps it as pure chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
in the state board, I would pop up for them if they click on a customer. Oh dear. I would pop up a little thing in the state board that lets them reposition their. Oh dear. This is supposed to. It's not working. Anyway, would let them reposition the exact location, because saying pinpointing on the property where the bin is
Yeah. I'd imagine that's a big thing, isn't it? Right.
it's kind of important, because it's like,
Even a small UK, silly ass properties, that's a thing.
yeah, and so that's an example where the state board would be triggered to provide a user interface that you just could not do using chat, because it lets you, it specifies some boundaries for this tool, and then interprets the output of the tool as just raw GPS, and it just sort of tucks that away in the customer record.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's buckets. Yeah, I get that. That's cool. So to go back to the where's the traceability? Do you want me to display?
Yep. What you doing?
Okay. So this is kind of the raggedy possible traceabilities. So I'm assuming the vanilla CRM. I called it vanilla because that's going to be dead easy. I'm just going to make up a JSON of a customer, or I'm going to get a bot to do it. And it's to do with the identity, it's to do with the transactions, notable events, which doesn't have to be customer triggered, so been picked up, etc. And notable customer challenges, my bin wasn't picked up.
Right. Yeah. Issues. Yeah. That's right.
That's pretty vanilla. That's nice, easy enough.
Yeah.
These are more interesting. So, of these, what is the one that should be doing today? So, assess if a service is available for customer X, possibly. That would require a call out to what is number one. It's a service. What's the constraints on the service? And is this service available to customer X given their ID? Sort of thing.
Yep. So that's what I would expect that call to be. That is a gnarly call to make using programming. It's like several pages of code right now. What I would like it to be is a natural language calculation, where the rules on how it is calculated are read in as natural language constraints on the system. So it'd be like
exactly. That's how I see it as well.
So
go ahead.
I think you got what I.
Okay. I get. So the way I would do that is we would give the bot a definition of what service was, give an example of what a service JSON is. They give it the real services, which would be something like you can pick up. I don't know. Is it different color bins or?
All the bins are the same, but the constraints are like you can only get picked up on every second Wednesday.
Right, so it's kind of temporal constraints. So given an ask saying I want to be picked up on Tuesday, and it's like, no, sorry, we can't do that. However, we could do it on Thursday. Is that okay?
That's right. And then you get it needs to also, and this is, I haven't even coded this in. This was just, I was like, oh, I can't cope with that right now. It also has to consider that if it's a public holiday, it's not getting picked up. And so
that's just another constraint, though.
I know.
That's fine.
I know. Yeah. You dismiss it like it's
encoding,
easy,
that would be a fucking pain in the arse,
right? Because you're like, what is a public holiday? How should I add new public holidays? So there's a good function of the CRM is one of the staff updating the public holiday
Right. It's like
register.
no service available on these days, and
Yeah, like
this changeable thing, I think is going to be quite powerful, and possibly this first one is the traceability to start with. So being able to add new constraints and then rerun the assessment of the service available to customer X
yeah,
sounds like quite a useful thing to be able
that's a
to do.
good little nugget, right? Because I think the way to build out this thing is to just develop all these little functions that they need and then sort of just combine them as we go. But
Yeah.
how would you make that particular function using helps in
So what
in,
we'll do there
in the language
is,
of naps and helps and jitters?
yeah. So naps. If we okay, so I'm not necessarily. I don't think necessarily we need a nap for this, being the interface with, you know, um, or the semi-permanent interface with uh, data.
Well,
What
the
we'll
nap
do
the
is
nap
the
would be storing the rules, like there is no how to calculate a
oh yeah,
collection.
actually yeah, sorry, I was thinking more of that isolates. So let me practically what I would do there is I would give the bot a definition of a service, an
Yeah,
example of the JSON.
yeah.
Then I'd give it the live data, which would be the services, and probably something to do with buckets. We can collect on these times for these existing customers, but we can't collect on these times. Probably the temporal constraint is a good one to check first. So I would create a whole bunch of, well, probably just one JSON, and then the constraints, and then the live data, and then there'll be a bot that says, okay, so customer X is asking whether it can change the Bin Connect collection from Wednesday to Tuesday. Is that okay? And that bot was have the concept of a service, concept of a customer, and would be able to do the interplay with that. You could ask other questions and different NL things, but it would be that straightforward.
Yeah,
It would be
because so some of the complexities and the massive pain in the butt to program have been. Are you still there?
yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
I just popped out because of a text.
Um, some of the really complicated things to deal with are like a customer will ring up and say, "Hey, I need to skip my next collection because I'm either on holiday or something or other." Right.
Oh, that's a good one. When can you rearrange it?
Right.
Right.
And then that
So
immediately throws
yeah,
out their schedule. And it begs questions like if you were being collected every 3 weeks and you wanted to skip the next one, should you skip a whole. Should you wait until the next 3 weekly cycle, or do you just want it immediately after that week and then your 3 weeks restarts from there?
yeah.
Right. And then there's other
So
constraints where
that's
people are
down
like,
to
like,
invoicing, yeah, and
yeah.
also realistically in terms of quality of service, how quickly does one of these bins fill up? And it's like, is it reasonable to skip 3 weeks, or is that
Well,
kind of
it's
onerous?
sort of that's, yeah. What I'm getting at is that to present the user interface to be able to enter that information in a structured form into the CRM has been an absolute nightmare. But whereas in natural language, anybody, any adult, can read a bunch of statements and figure out when the next one's due. It's like skip the next one, but use the next immediate available day. Like that's a really
Right,
simple statement.
like an interim one. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, so
yeah,
you
and
can't make
then
this
after
date.
that, revert everything to normal. Right now, that's a very simple thing to say, but I swear to you, if you try to program that, first of all, to do the calculation, that's
Ah, I
hard.
love that. I love
Yeah,
that as a traceability.
yeah,
Right,
that's hard. Second of
because
all, the
yeah,
hardest thing of all, how do you
Mm.
present that interface to a human, to the staff operator, that includes information like when the next collection is possible, what the options are, how can they mark that this next collection they're going to do this, and then it goes back to this regular schedule. And then you got extra business rules like a customer
All
is
right,
only
all right.
allowed two
I'm liking this. I'm
to
liking
skip.
this.
This problem, it seems simple on the outside, but the more you delve into this problem, it's actually a great example of the dissonance between dates, times, human scheduling, and computer coding, and the
I know
ratio of,
yeah,
right,
exactly.
the effort
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
of the effort of coding required to accurately capture it doesn't pay out for the size of the business. But
All right.
with NL, we can bring that to them. And so
Yeah.
the last little feature I want to get off my chest here is that that little tangle of that interim special case should
Mm.
be capturable in natural language. It should be
Mm-hmm.
reduced down to some standard natural language terms so that it's sort of always, planarized or
Mm-hmm.
dumbed down. But most importantly, when the normal operations have resumed, I expect the NL bot to come back in, erase the special case, and write down now the normal business as usual case.
Right, right. Because this comes down to um, once something is done, it's done. It's an event, and unless you're talking about past events, they're not considered.
Right.
Um, Future events are, is the, we're talking about an NL. I would like something in the future to change. Once it's done, it's done, and then someone can go back and go, and
Right.
ask,
And
yeah,
then, however, at a glance, I also expect to be able to interpret their history. Because if they ring up and query what occurred during that funny time, I need to be able to give them an answer. And what I really
yeah,
want is for the bot to be able to understand time and say, well, on that date, these were the conditions that governed when your collection would occur, and this is what happened.
right. So this is the part of the vanilla CRM. So there is, I've got this up here, updating, analyzing, answer questions about the data. We've got the data. The event has happened. The event was also the summary of the NL request. I'm away on holiday. Can you pick it up another time and
Mm.
then get back to it? Um, and then the customer comes in and says, you didn't do that. But we've also got data that it was picked up
Right,
at this time,
right.
presumably from another isolate, which, is reporting back
Yeah,
about
so
what's
that's a
done.
whole other part of the system, which is reconciliation. So plan
Right.
versus
Yeah.
actual.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the collections have occurred, they need to be signed off.
Yes. Right. Yeah. 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 So we don't need to go
Sometimes there will
into
be
this further.
errors. There are
This.
there
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
errors like there was a dog I couldn't get to the bin. There was a car
Right.
blocking
Right.
the driveway. The
Well,
gate was locked.
what I'm thinking about events is I don't know what devices the guys have, but even taking a voice note saying, "Shit, tried. There was this big dog. I'm not going in there."
Yeah,
Fucking
the way we want it is that they'll have a cell phone and they'll voice in the memo about what just happened. The app will know the location that they're at, and it will use its awareness of context to figure out which record it's supposed to be updating.
right. Yep.
A-
Yep.
And so
Well,
the
actually, what I'll
the
do
real
is
saver here for this CRM is basically just easing the ability for low skilled, busy people wearing gloves and other such impediments to the human computer interface
yeah,
to be able to very quickly update the system.
it's dealing with chaos, isn't it?
Mm.
How I deal with that is a guy with gloves puts in a voice note, which is noted as an event, transcribed
Yeah.
and available to the bot, who just notes the fact of it, maybe it's an interesting fact, maybe it's not. But then, when later challenged, it can give the full story around. Okay, so we were saying we're going to pick up here. The guy turned up. You've got a big dog. You didn't tell us about the big dog. He didn't do it. This is why. I can also, be nice about. Could you please, deal with your dog or something?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a really good tracer bullet.
Okay.
So,
Like this CRM is ripe with really hard to program things. Everywhere you turn is a hard to program thing.
yeah, because that's the thing about AIs, right? They're brilliant at doing really hard stuff, and they're a bit
Yeah.
shit at doing really easy stuff.
I know the shitty computers, but the superior humans.
Yeah, yeah. I think okay, right. I've got what I suggest then is today, because that will require I need to define identity, a service. I'll leave buckets for now. I'll just say there's a single bucket,
Sure.
and I'll create a bot that answers that question. Given all the services and the identities of the customers, a customer is now saying something really awkward, and then an event happens, and then someone queries about, well, okay, was that dealt with appropriately and so on, but the canonical data of what happens next isn't affected by what is exceptional.
Okay.
Bizarrely, that sounds really quite straightforward.
I'll believe it when I see it, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
the
Well, let's
thing.
see. Yeah, it's one of these times you can see the solution.
Yeah.
If as a mathematician, I would just simply publish at that point without actually trying to solve it.
So yeah, I mean,
That's
like
a good one.
I think that the CRM is a brilliant use case for the AI, but we must focus on the malleability of the system. So
It's the edge of chaos, isn't it? It's
yeah,
the chaotic.
because there's already a bunch of extra constraints that I haven't told you about, such as like sometimes a truck breaks down, and so suddenly the buckets need to be reorged for just that one particular day, which could be either scheduled maintenance or an emergency or a driver off sick or some other kind of thing. And now you need to recalculate in bulk all these different constraints. So all this,
that's
right?
gnarly.
So you imagine all that special case
Gnarly.
stuff that we just went through now needs to be completely upended and on the fly reallocated.
Right, and also to be nice to your customers, they really should use the comms isolate saying, "Sorry, truck's
Right.
broken down.
Yeah. Right.
We'll
Right.
get
Right.
you.
And so
Are
you're like,
you
well,
are you
there's a
okay with it being
right.
picked up on Friday?"
Right.
And then deal with the customer going back
Yeah.
in email saying, "No, Friday's not good. Could it be Saturday?"
Right. And then things like, hey, it's Easter Friday, you know,
Yeah, and the Pope doesn't like recycling done on,
yeah. So, because of that, we need to change this and that around. There's all sorts of constant things. And so if we hard code the structure that we talked about of like the folder structure within the CRM, and then allow everything else as much as possible to be lists of natural language rules that the staff can add different rules. They can test out different rules by like being like, what if I change this rule? And then we give them like a sandbox version of the CRM and they can play with it. And then
that's
also
the modeling piece here.
Right, yeah. And then a set of tests, like assertions that they want to always be true about the system, so that whenever we make a change, we can run those NL tests on the simulation, where like what I need to see by the time we're in production is a simulator of the CRM that we can sit here and watch it do a huge number of simulated customers, staff, trucks, days,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff just generatively rolling out the system with all the constraints being shown as being checked. Green light, orange, all that sort of thing, so that we can present the system and be like, here's a demo. It's just done 2 months worth of work within the last 10 minutes. The number of collections was 25,000 bins were collected in this simulation. The total AI cost was like $45.
Yeah. And
You
now
can,
we'll model Christmas, where everyone is emailing in saying, "Can I get an extra bin collection?"
right. Yeah, that's right. And so we should be able to run those simulations flawlessly. That's production ready. If we can run those simulations, and maybe every Friday night we run a simulation of the week to come to make sure that there's no hiccups or errors before hiccups and errors even occur.
Yeah, good. Okay, right. I've got enough for today then.
Alrighty.
So by tomorrow I'll do that one
Okay.
traceability we're talking
Okay.
about, which
Okay.
is someone altering their usual pattern
Yeah.
in a way. Not going to do any kind of isolate calls to buckets or anything else. I'm just going to do static JSON or what the services are.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to do anything that's changeable. And we'll see what we can get. All right.
Okay, man. This. I'm excited. It feels like the perfect time to be hitting these problems. Like,
Yeah.
I think we've
Yeah.
done sufficient experiments to know how to use the tool.
Yeah. I'm gagging at the bit, as it were.
Yeah.
I think that's a good traceability as well.
Okay. Have you got time to go through where I'm at with the identity stuff with me?
Yes.
You gotta bounce.
Can I just text Jude, who's just pinged?
Okay.
Oh,
Sure.
right. Give me 1 minute. I'll be
1
right
minute.
back.
Okay.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Right. Hey.
You back?
Yeah.
Okie
Identity.
dokie. Okie dokie. So, can you not see me because my screen's in the way?
No, I can see.
Oh,
Can't see
okay.
any differences. Normal.
Oh, okay. I made my monitor massive.
All right. Yeah.
Anyway,
I can totally see you.
I
Can't see.
can totally see you.
Can't see your monitor.
totally see you. It's funny. Okay. All right. So where I got to, I got two things to cover: the identity model as it's shaking out, with
Mm-hmm.
some example use cases. I've got a security plan, sort of, for rolling out the CRM that avoids doing a penetration test on the Artifact platform.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start with the rollout of the CRM. The I asked some questions of some friends who do security, and one of the questions they asked was, "Is the data encrypted at rest?" And the answer was no.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got
No, it could be though. I mean,
well, yeah. So, but
yeah.
that's the one thing I'd overlooked using the Deno KV store and the Git backend, and so I've put out a request to a helpful guy who is currently looking at implementing an encryption at rest layer for us, so we can we'll have encryption at rest. I don't want to do a penetration test on the platform because I think it'll be a waste of money, and
Mm-hmm.
like, I know that there's big holes in it, and yet how do we deploy and be secure? And so something I found here is Cloudflare's zero trust network model,
Okay.
which uh, is basically the user runs a client, like a VPN client, where
Mm-hmm.
that VPN client connects to Cloudflare,
Mm-hmm.
and then I set up a deployment of Artifact on Deno Deploy that will only answer questions or traffic from Cloudflare, and so
Mm-hmm.
that runs um, that runs Artifact, but it will only talk to Cloudflare's servers. And why that's useful is the clients would connect. Oh fuck! Did I lose my screen? Where the fuck was it?
Are you using Cloudflare here as a gateway onto Deno, or
Well, Deno would sit here,
right? Yeah.
and then
Okay. So right.
the users are currently in a secure network, but they would set up this tunnel that would go from their presumably secure device up to Cloudflare. Cloudflare would assess what the request was, and if it was a request that was destined for the CRM, it would send it off to Deno, and then it would proxy that request in and out.
Okay, all right. So in the chain of trust, then we've got the client's machine.
Yeah,
That's their problem, physical security.
yeah,
We've got tunnel into Cloudflare. Cloudflare only accepts requests through their service
yeah,
and then dispatches to Deno.
yeah. And
All right.
Deno only talks to Cloudflare, and so
So we're proxying the security with whatever Cloudflare has done in
yeah,
order to make this secure. The
right,
attack vectors, you can also ignore the client because that's up to them.
yep,
We proxy Cloudflare. We assume that they're doing everything right.
yep,
The fact that there's no attack vector directly through to Deno is good because we don't actually need Deno to do anything else other than their kind of meta security.
yeah. So
Um,
there's no the internet cannot access the Deno deployment.
right. Yeah. 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 Well, it possibly could, but the attack vectors are
Right,
Deno's
right.
problem.
And then
Yeah.
also, like, whatever our authentication mechanisms on Deno are, they don't really matter because you have to authenticate with Cloudflare, and you have to log in with Cloudflare to be allowed to even access Deno.
Right.
So even
So,
if I fucked up the login permissions on the Deno deployment, it doesn't matter anyway because only logged in users can even see the server.
right. There is one attack vector here. So, okay. We inherit the security of Cloudflare, the security of Deno.
Right.
We've got the user we've got a potential attack vector around the AI, because when we go out to the LLM,
Mm-hmm.
the LLM's doing work, and then it's coming
Mm-hmm.
back and altering this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there possibly could be still an attack vector where a carefully crafted SQL injection
Right.
style
Yeah.
prompt
Right.
will
Right.
get all
Right.
the way
So we're
through.
still vulnerable to LLM damage.
Yeah.
However, that would have come from a secured client by way of the way that Git works is it's always adding. So
Sorry, man. Sorry. Uh, can I retract
yep.
that? No, it's because we've got KYC. So even if you have a carefully crafted NL SQL injection at
Yeah.
this point,
Yeah.
it'll go all the way through. But because we've got isolation of assets at the deno point,
Mm.
all they're doing is fucking with their own assets.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
So you can't, that there's, that old one is about 10 years ago where there was a vulnerability with uh, virtual instances where you could actually jump between them.
Yeah.
Again, that into
Yeah.
saying we're assuming that nothing here can jump into those instances.
Yeah. Yeah. So the fact that we're not multi-tenanting our artifact instance is the way that we can be during this interim phase be absolutely sure that we are doing the utmost to protect our customers' data, even though we ourselves are not 100% confident in our own standalone security. We can employ this system to fortify it.
Yeah, but what we can also do is deploy security bots to look for anything anomalous.
Yeah.
Uh,
Plus the way that Git works, it's not like you can suffer like a crypto locker attack. It's even if you mess with it, we'll see it, and we'll always have the history, and so
yep,
we'll be able to see what you did, and then we'll patch it, and then
and
you can't do it
it's
again.
always traceable back to a KYC
Yeah.
user.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And those are good things for us to learn about, right? But in a typical database that's malleable, if you manage to overwrite data, it's like, I'm not sure what happened in between there.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, we've got the tree of forks and merges,
Yeah,
and the very least that gives us rollback,
yeah,
which is the the eye of the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So the
yeah,
integrity piece, we've got the availability we're offloading to these guys,
yep,
and the confidentiality piece is the KYC.
right. Yeah. So the only thing we
That
got to
sounds
really
pretty.
worry about is the
I've seen
integrity bit.
banks with a lot less security than that.
All right.
It's
That I
that's
think
hard.
if we can
Yeah,
deploy this, that's pretty much good enough. And
yeah. I think that's it's defensible. It's very
yeah, it's
defensible.
defensible, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And Cloudflare lets us. I can integrate the GitHub login with Cloudflare. So all
Hmm.
you'll do is you'll log in with GitHub, you'll OAuth through Cloudflare, and then
Hmm.
you're straight away into Artifact. Um, it's just one account all the way through,
Yeah.
and then GitHub can deal with two-factor authentication. I lost my password. I lost my device. The GitHub can
Yeah.
handle all
Yeah.
that stuff.
They're all over that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got that
It's
stuff covered.
almost to the point of being slightly annoying.
I
Yeah.
know, I know. So anyway, that was the plan, and I think it's pretty solid.
That that is other than that. Uh, there's still possibility there's going to be an attack vector through the NL interface. Oh, there you go. I'm back. Back to the NL interface. I'll go all the way through that. The very fact, if we can offload the KYC and borrow on the security around the KYC,
Yep.
then that would pass an audit.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So that's that.
That's pretty. That's actually really nice. That's I may say that's a nice architecture.
Cool. Okay, great. Now, I think I have cracked the identity model for our system, and I just want to. Oh no, we lost you. Hey, buddy, you back?
I'm back. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
I think I cracked the identity model for our system, and the tricky part was when a machine comes in, an anonymous machine comes in, it has a bit of a chat with Hal,
Mm-hmm.
and then it authenticates. How do I bring those sessions over?
Mm-hmm.
And given that this design needs to be the same as what the CRM will use, so it's not a HAL specific thing, it's about how do you make a multi-user, multi-session application pattern that can be used in this system with pluggable identity providers, so that GitHub's not baked in at the artifact level. GitHub's just another NAP.
Well, that's just an instance of the usual supply chain security question, right? So everything, if all the providers in the supply chain make certain assertions about the security, then you can inherit those all the way down. There is the one aspect of that is we're allowing people to change bots. So potentially there's another, say, a malicious bot is put up as a help. That could be another vector there, but the actual chain of supply is, I think, what you're talking about there. Interesting. That malicious bot thing we should think about, or I'll think about.
Yeah, we've been poking at that malicious one for a while, but so this the process goes. You fire up your local machine. You generate a public-private key pair. You connect to Artifact, where Artifact has a very special app installed first called the Home app. The Home app will accept anybody, any valid public-private key pair can do one and only one thing, which is create a new actor. An actor is a unique ID that is generated by the Home app on request from any unique and not before seen machine public key.
Okay, so this part is untrusted.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
The what we've now got is an actor that's working on behalf of the machine, of this untrusted machine. However, is doing so in a way that we know the this supply chain security. So this link, where does that come in? Is that Cloudflare?
This here is Artifact, and I don't think it matters whether it includes, like, Cloudflare is just a wrapper around the outside, but ultimately it's in consensus verified chainland.
Right. Okay. So we've got the wrapper from Cloudflare at this point, and so we can inherit their security. Fine.
Yeah.
We've got consensus, so we know what's happened and when. Traceability. What we still don't know is whether this machine one, with all the right credentials, is actually intending to do bad stuff.
No, I don't think that really matters. Like so long as the rules of the system are upheld, and so long as the billing is being monitored effectively, you can come and do bad stuff. It's just
no. This is not for now, but I'm going to take a note of this one. I think there is a space inside here, which is like a tripwire system of saying, okay, so this machine with this through this actor, which we know this is all secure, is asking something really odd. That is outside of what we'd expect, given the context of what we know.
Right, yeah. So I think what you're talking about is a semantic firewall, which is
Oh, that's good. Oh, I like that term. Oh yeah, there you
Yeah.
go.
And
There you
so
go.
I think that the CRM actually needs that too, where you're watching all the requests that come in and even the LLM bot responses, and you're simply sitting there with a single character output, you know, raise the
Yeah,
flag or not.
it's good or bad.
Yeah. And as soon as it sees bad, it's like, well, hold, slow down. Now, more finessed ways to do that that my friends helped me discover today are things like putting a limit on the personally identified information that gets sent over this red line and
Oh,
down.
so yeah, I've heard about this. It's like what do they call it? Uh, data inertia. It's like you can't, download the entire. If you manage to get an exploit through something that we've missed, you can't get the entire
Yeah,
thing.
right. It's like a
Yeah,
flow rate or
yeah,
a,
yeah,
a, a rate
yeah.
limit.
A limit, rate limit. Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
it
Yeah, I've
sort
heard
of
of that.
says
That's
that
really good.
no staff member has need to see everyone's full customer record. And so, how much do they need? Well, they probably need a rate limit of X per active session.
Hmm.
And more importantly, if we were tracking the units of personally identifiable information access, we should have a good profile of what a typical day is. And if we see that profile going out of bounds, we should sort of halt the system and raise an alarm and say, look, something fucking weird is going on here. Why?
I like that. I like that a lot. In
And
fact,
it's like
that
it's
yeah,
like an orange light would go off to one of the admins and be like, hey, look, here's the situation. There's been more access to PII than before. Are you okay with that or not? And if they say they're okay, then yeah, we're like, all right, fine. But they should have to give a reason, like, oh well, it's a short week and we're dealing with a lot of Christmas emails and blah 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 blah.
yeah. But the profile is also very interesting. This is definitely something. In a few months' time, we should spend a bit of time thinking about.
Mm,
Say if there's not one machine, but there's 1,000 machines all going through the right route, and they're all asking for 10 customer records.
mm.
That should scream out Blue Bloody Mary to any AI.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because there should be an Overwatch that's sort of reading system vitals or system activity of any kind, particularly number of machines, number of requests, number of AI tokens burned, all these things. And
Right,
it
which is
should be intelligently aware of, look, something's amiss. And it should be able to
yeah,
read it like a
exactly.
human.
Exactly, and that's the sort of thing that Tripwire's been doing for years, but
Right,
at the kind of network level,
right. And whereas this is at the
but we're
meaning
doing the
level.
semantic level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So another addition that these guys help me see is that when we present data to the user, we should be actually masking the PII unless they explicitly click on it to unmask it. Like, you don't need to see the customer's email address just because you are dealing with that customer right now. You probably need their first name. You might need,
mm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and when you want to access some of their PII, you should have to like click it to reveal it, and that should cost you a one reveal.
But
And
it
so,
also is recorded the fact that you do that. A bit
right,
like how when you call it your bank, they put you over to a system where you put your credit card in,
yeah, that's
right?
right, that's right. And
And
so
they
and
and
so
they
the
don't have
users of the
access. Yeah,
system, it becomes increasingly, now I'm not sure that this particular CRM needs that level, but I'm starting to see more ways that an LLM can be used to highly protect customer data.
yeah,
And more importantly, it's starting to dawn on me that within the Dreamcatcher ecosystem, because of the nightmare that is surrounding the handling of PII and the increasing legislation that must be sort of regulations that must be met around it, if we were able to offer a system that could store your customer data, even in CRM format, using these highly performant PII models with things like click to reveal, Overwatch,
yeah.
rate limits, all these things, and providing this LLM interface to it, then we can sell that to people. We're like, we'll handle your PII for you for a fee because it's a pain in the ass. So,
Yeah, there's one other thing that you've not mentioned there, but it's screaming out. On a 0 day, um, it would be relatively easy once it's identified. It's like shit. So we're talking about immediate response here. To deploy a set of security bots that understands what the sort of thing they're looking for
mm,
and closes it down
mm,
in flight.
mm,
And because we've got the rate limiting, it's like, yeah, okay, so we've got the tripwire here, and perhaps what we want to do is have that uh, kind of 0 day, I don't know, rapid response team, what we want to call it, step in and saying,
right.
no, we're not happy with that. We don't know why we're not happy with that, but we're not
Yeah.
happy with that.
Right. So that's good. Further to that, we could list every isolate that was used in the deployment, and if a 0 day popped up for that isolate, we can just simply gracefully fail, where we go to call that one function and we're like, oh, sorry, there's a fault with this piece. It's been
So it's gracefully fail
gracefully
on
break,
help.
yeah. And so rather than
Right.
taking the entire thing offline, we just blacklist this one node module that's been discovered with an exploit, and we're like, don't call that or anything that depends
That's
on it.
yeah. You could also extend that to be isolating helps, right? Not
Yeah,
just isolates.
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, okay, so sorry for the inconvenience. We're working on your
Right,
behalf. We've stopped this.
right. And the
There are
thing
other
is, yeah,
there are other
right. The
helps
thing is,
available.
you've got this graceful degradation that gives you, a maintenance window without loss of service. And,
Yeah.
we can have like tested that simulation that I'm talking about. We should run it on multiple different LLMs to know
Hmm.
that we've got a complete failover of every piece of the system should we need it.
Right, but the failover of a help. So unless it's an entirely novel help, we've got the hierarchy of helps. We can just assume, say, in this in one scenario, that a help has been compromised at some point, and so we fail up the hierarchy of helps, which are probably slightly shitter, but still
Right.
do roughly the right thing.
Yeah, right. We can roll back. Yeah. So I think we can make very, very resilient, intelligently resilient systems in this way, I think.
I think so, because
And
the
the
yeah, I
biggest the
mean,
biggest the biggest call, right, and this is a ballsy one, the
mm,
biggest call that we could put into the hands of an LLM is to cut over quorum.
okay, okay, go on.
So you're in a situation where you were replicating, you had, 3 other instances of artifact running,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of them went down, you're looking at the net and you're looking at Twitter and you're looking at status boards of AWS and whatever, and you make the AI call to say, I'm going to break quorum and I'm running on my own because I believe that I am the survivor and so I should restore service.
That's very interesting.
Right?
That's very
Because
interesting.
normally that's a human that makes that call. But
Yeah, and they're
why?
very slow.
And they sleep or they shit
Yeah,
or they go
and it's
do other
like
things or
4 hour
they.
response time is like the norm for
Right.
you know.
And then they got to turn up and they got to process what's happened. And they're like, what the fuck is going on here? Whereas these AIs are like always up
Yeah.
with the play.
That's an interesting one.
Right?
There is a kind of there's a sister idea here where in a kind of vector space of helps, there are similar helps that call through their call chain something similar, but they are not actually affected yet, and so
Yeah.
proactively or prophylactically, we're saying we're going to just like not do that for now.
Yeah.
That's really strong.
Yeah, it
That
is,
is
right?
really strong. Who are these? Sorry, you don't need to name them, but I'd like to talk to these security guys. They seem to know
Yeah,
their shit.
there's just a bunch of buddies I grew up with that all went into the IT admin space. Like I'm pretty much the only programmer, maybe one other guy, they all went into
Mm-hmm.
the sysadmin security roles.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's really interesting talking to them because they've got a whole different mindset on how they look at Artifact. They really don't give a shit about the features. They care about the safety of it. Like, yeah.
Yeah. This model. Um, uh, I've been like reaching out and talking to some security firms, and keeping abreast on what people are doing in security.
Mm.
I've not seen anything this robust being proposed. Now
Right.
we
I'm
don't.
not. I'm not sure this is robust yet because I've got a design and I think it works and I'm implementing it now. But the speciality of it is the fact that the sorry, the identity providers are nothing special. They're just in the home app, which anyone is welcome to run a home app. We will run our version of the home app. You configure in there which naps you will allow as authentication providers. And the big learning or realization for me was that an authentication provider does only one function in the system, and that is it allows for two independent actor IDs to be merged into one, which gives all of the machines that were attached to one particular actor the rights to access anything else that the actor that they merged into is allowed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that took some thinking to get there. But that's the
Mm-hmm.
only thing.
I wasn't aware of that actually. That's quite interesting.
And because otherwise you end up in a big tangle as to what it is that the authentication provider holds
Mm-hmm.
and is responsible for and all that. So let me run you through real quick how the flow works.
Okay.
So where is my pointer? Every machine before it connects generates its key pair in private, keeps the keys secret.
Mm-hmm.
It can then connect to the home app, which
Mm-hmm.
anyone can run a version of the home app, but because we wrote the code that runs these machines, we point it at a hard coded address to be
Mm-hmm.
like, use this home app.
Right. Gateway. Yeah.
They come into the home app, they create a new actor. An actor is a randomly generated ID that's nothing special except that it's unique. They
Mm-hmm.
then can go and do things. When they go to talk to Hal, Hal doesn't care about machines. Hal only cares about actors. So the
Mm-hmm.
concept in our system that I've made is the actor ID. One of these sessions will talk to Hal and say, I want to start a new session. It will recognize which actor it came from, will
Mm-hmm.
make a new actor, and then create a new session. And now any of these sessions that are attached to this machine actually has access rights to any of these other sessions within
Right.
HAL.
So you're mapping through S1, S1, S2, S2, S3,
Yeah,
and so on.
because the
This
actor
this act
is what
this actor
matters.
here, is that the same as this actor
Yeah,
there?
this is
Right.
a one-to-one relationship.
Right.
Okay, now the tricky part comes in if this actor is unauthorized and then it does the GitHub auth loop and then it merges itself with, say, actor 0
Mm-hmm.
or actor 57, whatever, because it's proven that in GitHub it's allowed to merge like that,
Mm-hmm.
then HAL doesn't know that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the trick. It's like, well, you got these things, these types of sessions are completely independent from HAL. But if I merge this with another actor, these are left dangling because how should HAL know that
Mm.
the new
To trace
actor
all the way
has
back.
permission
Yeah.
to access the old actor? How do I know
Right.
it's not, you know? And so
Right.
that's really that was one of the big head scratches for me, because how the CRM needs to follow this pattern. The CRM, for every actor that connects, it needs to make a branch that represents that actor, and then it needs to have sessions for that actor to represent, different browser tabs, or different a laptop versus a mobile, and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that when you're going through the audit trail of who changed what in the CRM, you must be able to link it back to which actor that you did KYC on, and then furthermore, which session did which session did that come from? So
So this doesn't sound right, but when you're merging, so actor 56
yeah,
merges with actor 1, actor 1 is replicated here, being the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah.
Then essentially that merge happens here at the same time. 56 could have other sessions,
Yeah.
which now Hal knows about.
Well, that's what it ultimately needs to happen, but making Hal aware of that seemed seemed kind of hard. And so I made a function here that allows you to I took a while to find the right word for it, but it was condense.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and
Okay.
so when you condense actors down, you also have the opportunity to call the condense function on Hal, where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I want to condense actor 57 into actor 1 and bring all the sessions with you.
Right. And now you've got a new actor 58 that's got a number of new sessions
Well, it would have,
and
if it was
triggers.
57 being condensed into actor 1, you would be left with actor 1.
All right. Okay. So it's kind of inherited. Fine.
Yeah, the first actor to
Okay.
pass the authentication is the primary actor ID, and so anyone else that passes the same authentication will have their actor ID condensed into that primary actor ID.
Yeah. Yeah. Got
And
it.
that,
So that what you're talking about there is how it simply updates his view.
yeah, and it
Oh,
says,
sorry.
turns out, hey Hal, turns out actor 57 and actor 1 were the same actor, surprise, surprise, condense.
Sorry, I just had a call coming in. Yes. So I missed the last 15 seconds.
So it says to Hal, basically, actor 57 and actor 1, surprise,
Mm-hmm.
surprise, were actually the same actor, so condense them
Mm-hmm.
together, and now all the sessions are accessible as this one actor. Anyone
Mm-hmm.
with suitable auth credentials as actor 1 can now do anything they like with any of these sessions, and that's how you track the credit balance, all those things.
Right, and we know that's pure because up here at GitHub they're doing the merge, saying yes, this is
Well, they
fully
they they are
the
actually,
same thing.
this is was my realization. They don't do the merge. They allow the merge. So active 57 would pass the auth and then
Mm-hmm.
would say, "Hey, condense." It would say, "Hey, home," because home is the parent of actor 1 and actor 57. Actor
Mm-hmm.
57 would call to home and say, "Actually, I want to condense down to actor 1 according to this," and then they give the chain ID of the auth provider, which could be any
Mm-hmm.
of the provisioned auth providers, and then
Mm-hmm.
home goes off, reads the auth provider, says, is that correct, yes or no? If it's correct, then it does the condensation,
All right. Okay.
right?
All right.
And so
Yeah.
one of the identity providers, like, you can have multiple identity providers, and you can allow different merges using different ones. Like, I could sign in on one machine, I could sign in with GitHub, but then on another one, I could sign in with my Ethereum
Right.
wallet. and then I can still condense or coalesce down into this primary actor ID because that's me in our system.
Right.
So the Ethereum wallet is probably the next one I'll put in there, which simply means that if you can prove that you have the same Ethereum address, you have the ability to call the condense function on home, which lets you merge your anonymous actor ID with another actor ID and gain access to all their stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the hard part. The part I found hard is to recognize that the anonymous actor is the purpose of authentication is to allow you to merge in with an existing actor and access all their stuff, bringing with you whatever you did as the anonymous user too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is quite neat. I like this.
Yeah.
This is good.
And so it means that, like anyone can run their own home version of the home app and run different logic. Anyone can run an auth provider, but because we own the home app, we will say which auth providers we trust to allow the condense function. Taking a moment to consider what a corrupted auth provider could do, it could allow me to create actor 58, use the corrupted auth function to OK a condensation, condense in with actor 1, gain access to all their millions.
But you could only do that if actor 1 and the corrupted actor were both talking to the corrupted authentication.
Correct. And that's why it's often been a worry to me, what is the administrative control that we exert on the system? This is a great model because sure, we provide the hosting, but we will be compatible and communicable with other people who are running Artifact on their own hardware and their own software deployments. Like, we don't want to make that the deciding factor as to what authority means. But we run and host, we set up home, and home is where we set up which auth providers we trust in Chainland. And that's what dictates the integrity of the system from our point of view, because if we control the execution environment and it executes correctly, and we control the home chain and the GitHub chain and the Ethereum wallet checking chain, then we can offer these identity guarantees throughout the system. So if you want to make a new app, you shouldn't have to worry about setting up OAuth flows, GitHub flows. The user shouldn't have to go through your unique GitHub flow. The user, actor 1, just rolls through the whole fucking system using anyone's app, using any jitter, and they're all able to know that, yes, this is a GitHub authenticated account. It has this balance, blah, blah, blah.
So a question. Someone sets up their own home.
Yep.
They advertise that they're using GitHub, same GitHub as the original home. So we got home version 1,
Yep.
home version 2.
This thing would only, I think, would be bound, two-way bound to home. Like this chain ID is only going to talk to this home, and this home is only going to talk to this chain ID.
All right, so if they've got a separate home, you can't condense between actors on different homes.
No, you cannot condense between different actors on different homes, only actors on the same home.
Okay.
They can run their own GitHub, but it's up to them to, put the hard coding of what the cryptographically verifiable address of that home is, and that GitHub provider is. It's up to them to get that into the client so that it gets used. So yeah.
So your question is?
My question is, does this miss anything that you can see?
No, in that run through,
Can you see how it could be simpler, or have you got some suggestions on how it could be simpler? Because it's sort of a bit of a fucking
the
it's a
condensation
bit of
thing
a song and
seems
dance.
condensation seems useful but complex.
It's complex, but it was as simple as I could get it.
But in terms of what we need, well, the whole point of this is to get the integrity of the sessions, right?
Right.
So
Permissioned sessions was the point
right.
from untrusted machines.
Yeah. So I want to know that there is a chain of trust all the way up to GitHub, and that if I come in using a different vector that can be condensed, that's helpful. That's very helpful. But what I really want to know as a user is, are these sessions in kind of my world the same sessions, even though I've gone from one device, one OS, even to a different OAuth provider.
Yeah.
Is that session actually the same session? And I think this provides it. Now, your question is, can we remove anything from that? What's super?
The super user is the first user. When you deploy the home app, it automatically creates a super user. If you have the keys to be super, or you can condense into being super, you can have special powers.
All right. Okay. So that's like you can ratchet up your priorities. But that's not every stage. Well,
that's like the root user when you install Linux and you get this default root.
It's a pseudo kind of right.
Yeah.
Now got superpowers.
The super user.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And so the idea is that at the moment the way a deployment goes is the blank engine boots. The blank engine is hard coded to allow the installation of the home isolate.
Yep.
Or it's actually a NAP in our new language, the home NAP, which is a persistent long-term store. Installation of home creates the super user account. You then use the super user account to install the GitHub auth NAP and the HAL NAP and the CRM NAP and whatever other NAPs you want. And then that's when anonymous users can come in and start condensing themselves up to being authenticated and persistent and attach credit cards and move devices and have their data preserved and share sessions between each other and all that kind of thing.
Right. And when we've got the different, sorry, this might be a stupid question, but when you got a session here, this is the actual token burning thing.
Yep.
That goes up through this chain of trust and is presented down here.
So by default, yes, anyone in HAL, any of these sessions that is attached to this actor has the authority to interact in any way with any of these sessions and this actor.
Right. So because we've already agreed that you're missing a line here, by the way.
Nope.
Machine and home, right? No?
Machine never talks to home. Machine only talks to actor.
How does actor get bootstrapped?
Machine, good point. Machine hits home, home creates actor, and then actor talks to machine.
Right, so there's a dotted line here, which is
like
one chance
a one-off.
and
a one-off line, and then the permanent line. Yeah, I don't know how to draw that.
Is that home? It spins off super. Does actor talk to super, and not to home?
actor always talks to home because
Mm-hmm.
super and actor are peers. The
Mm-hmm.
difference is in the billing. Super super sort of starts unbilled
Uh-huh.
because I can't figure out how to do. I need to provision the system in non-trivial ways, like setting up GitHub and setting up Hal before I can provision billing. And so I need a user that is partially outside the constraints of the system and isn't subject to the same restrictions, like, oh, you've got no money. Ha.
No, that's okay. So basically, what we're saying is, Super has the authority to accrue debt.
Super can do
On its
whatever it
calls.
likes, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So Super has a debt which can then be paid off by Home. Now, maybe Home doesn't have funds and so on,
The super debt
but
is not accounted for in the system. It's billing that accrues
yeah,
externally, but it's not part of the
yeah.
internal accounting system because I can't figure out how to get the internal accounting system going without, like, the only other way is to poke
Yeah.
so many holes in the system that I can provision the whole system from the outside. This
No, that's
seemed
that's
neater.
that's that's fine. That's fine. So Super accounts for debt, but doesn't apply that debt to any one person, and that debt can be
Super's,
summed over
yeah,
a number of users, and then that's just your tax,
Super's
right? So
unlimited. Super's
yeah.
unlimited, and
So
we have to pay
Home
you.
has Home has a tax to even talk to a Super, but
Mm,
there's no direct link between the billing. I think that's fine.
yeah. The
That's like
super user account should hardly ever get used. It's really only for at boot time.
yeah. Okay. Well, in answer to your question, no, I can't see how you'd remove anything or add anything except for um, tightening up some of the lines. But what I'll do is I'll review this recording today and think about it slow time. But on first blush, no, this looks pretty
Okay.
solid.
One of the ways that it could have been simplified is that I could have just used browser session based OAuth, but then
Uh, uh, mm,
it
right.
seemed
Sorry, go on.
restrictive because it was outside of the chain system. And
Yeah, but remember this browser OAuth here
yeah,
is this is untrusted, you know,
right, right,
potentially malicious, and so
right.
what we want is a very hard border between
You can
Node.
you can get that using browser-based OAuth where you're storing session cookies in the machine. Um, so that's a traditional. If you don't have all this complexity, that's the typical way to do it. Um,
It
but
seems less good.
it seemed less good to me because I can't. It for the life of me, I couldn't figure out how to do the condensing operation, and it bothered me,
Oh, I see. All right.
perhaps more
Okay.
than it should have. But it bothered me that if I came in and I didn't want to sign up, and I had some fairly in-depth conversations with Hal as an anonymous user using my free credits, it bothered me that as soon as I authenticated, I would lose. I couldn't figure out how to bring the sessions with you finally.
Yeah. Interesting coming at it from another angle. What I would say, the same conclusion from a different angle. Um, if we're treating everything here as untrusted,
Yeah,
um, having, regardless of whether they've got session IDs and authenticating that sort of thing, you could do all sorts of nefarious stuff because we don't have a chain of trust, right?
right.
Smart people could do stuff with this session and then jump straight to here, bypassing all of that.
Um, Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess I'm a little embarrassed at the complexity of it, but I know that it is genuine chainland security. I hope that's a good enough reason for the complexity
Yeah.
and the
Is
time
there
delay that it incurred.
is there any value in allowing home to effectively elevate its own status to super and remove super? Or
No, because what became apparent was that home is not an actor. Home is an app. Each of the branches that home makes, the immediate
mm,
children or the immediate branches of the main branch, that is
mhm,
an actor. And it seemed more accurate to model an actor as a branch because an actor is a process and not, it's more a process than it is a thing, an actor.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so this is mostly at rest. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
There's
So this
runtime.
is like
Yeah, it can't
this
actually go.
branch, this
Yeah,
process doesn't do much. Mostly just
yeah,
sits there. It's all of its immediate children are all actors. And then
yeah.
the
That
immediate
makes sense.
children of each actor is a machine. And by virtue of being a child, I can restrict what functions it can call. Like, because I have to be able to restrict these chains to only do the logic that we allow and
Hmm.
not the freeform logic that can occur elsewhere in the system because
Hmm.
you cannot corrupt the identity services of the system. You
Hmm.
can HAL will let you mess with just about anything from this point down. Like when you're using HAL, you can't mess with this part of HAL, but you can
Hmm.
absolutely ream yourself in this part.
Hmm.
You can burn
Right.
hundreds of dollars.
In,
You can make it to total
including
gibberish.
updating your own bots.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But you always have a reset in that you can never touch the identity branches because we
Yeah.
control that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so your
Good.
safeguard is like, hey, I really fucked up. I need to roll back out of
Right.
hell into actor mode and I need to go delete account and then
Yeah.
create account and then start again because I'm a
Right.
fucking failure.
Right.
So,
And of
um,
course, if you layer this onto the previous diagram, um, where we've got our three boxes of trust, and
right,
we've got tunnels between them,
right.
then at each point there doesn't seem to be, given the previous question, previous conversation, doesn't seem to be an attack vector that you can actually get into this trusted area.
No, like this is running in trusted code.
Yeah.
And so long as it can't be breached by sending a weird packet in across the line or something, a crafted attack payload.
Yeah, but
So,
we were talking about that before, but that's a different layer. This
well,
layer does not have to worry about that.
it might because in Artifact there's all kinds of machine level restrictions, like not buffer overflows, but similar types of
Oh,
oddities
okay. So
can
kind
occur.
of basic, well-known kind of weirdness. Okay.
Yeah, conventional attacks
Yeah.
can occur
Yeah.
where you're sending funny data in that does unexpected things at the Deno deploy level.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, look, I mean, uh, it's it's complex, but I believe it's complete because it does the CRM, it does HAL, it does the identity. It it if you could imagine that we solved decentralized consensus, you would still use the same system.
Right. Yeah. 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 That would just be another blob here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, and I can see how I can connect up Ethereum to it. I can connect up money, all these things. So it bothers me that it took so long. It bothers me that it's got so many moving parts, but when you consider all the use cases it has to satisfy, it's a lot of different use cases and so maybe it's as good as it gets.
I think it's definitely good enough. Being defined by in this conversation of whatever it is, 40 minutes. Can't see any problem with this.
All right. Okay, cool. Well, I'll persist with building it, and it can be our first blush at the identity system within. Yeah.
Yeah, good, good.
All right. I think that's all I had. I've got a few items to go over off record, if you don't mind. If you got any
Yeah,
more
yeah, I
time.
got time. I got
Yeah.
time. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Let me stop that recording.